What's up, YouTube family? We have really big news, and it's not our new studio. We're gonna go over here to our smaller garage and show you exactly what we're working on, because at the end of the day, this channel is all about showing people how to get started in the automotive industry. Whether you've worked on cars your whole life, or you're new to the industry. So with this video, we're gonna show you how to build a SEMA car in a regular garage. And this is our SEMA build. This is a 2022 Tesla Model 3 that I purchased about a month ago at Copart. Now, when we were doing that video, we were talking all about how you can buy clean title cars and repo cars at Copart, and we talked a little bit about SEMA. And believe it or not, Copart has never been a part of SEMA. So I talked about doing some fun builds and stuff like that and asked them if they wanted to be a part of it, and they said yes. So I definitely feel honored. Out of the thousands of YouTubers that have been buying and building cars from Copart on YouTube, I will be building the very first SEMA car for Copart. So I'm super excited about that. And thank you so much for the vote of confidence. So we wanted to get something that everybody sees on the road that's kind of unassuming, which is this Tesla Model 3. And Copart's whole thing is to help regular people be able to buy regular cars, whether that's clean title or stuff like this that needs a little bit of work from their auction. So I figured this will be a great thing. But not only that, we're gonna have to put our twist onto it. So we're actually taking this car and we're gonna be cutting it in half. We're going to shorten the wheelbase by 13 inches. We're going to build a roll cage in it, and we're going to make this a race/drift car that's going to be something fun, that's going to be exciting to be put on the road. And I can't wait to get started. We also have a lot more planned for this build, but I'm not going to disclose it in this video. You'll have to watch the whole build series. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and start lining stuff up, and we're going to start cutting on the frame. So for the last week and a half, I've been taking this thing apart piece by piece, and it's been a major pain in the So the glass guys just left, and now we have a convertible Tesla. Everything is gone. It's all nice and open. So what I'm gonna be doing now is we already took off all the glass. I was trying to film that earlier, but unfortunately it's a little bit too hot here in Vegas. My camera overheated, but we removed all this glass. And so this way we can go ahead and start shortening up and cutting the frame. But in the meantime, we have to take everything you see here out of there. So if you see anything in here you like, if you're building a Tesla or something else, I'm gonna be getting rid of a lot of parts. So go ahead and message me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez if you want the seats, some interior pieces, other stuff like that, because I will be giving a lot of this stuff away and selling some of it. Woo! But I had to take it to the shop because we had to take the whole battery out, and I didn't realize it was 1,300 pounds to get that whole thing out of the car, but it's out, it's ready to go. So what I'm gonna show you now is how we actually designed to cut the car. So if you look right here, we have a section of 13 inches on the top part from the support bar. Now we're gonna be cutting this right here with the Sawzall and cutting wheel. And if you scroll down here, you can see that we're actually gonna make this a no post coupe. So this is gonna be completely open. So it's gonna look like a teardrop the whole way around, which is gonna give it a very clean look. The only thing you're gonna see right here is the bar from the roll cage. Now, if we focus down here, this is where we're gonna be cutting out of the bottom. Now, once again, this is also 13 inches. And if you can see, if you scroll back a little bit, this is offset from this. There's two reasons why I did this. One, you never wanna cut in a straight line. And two, these are both the lowest points and the highest points of the arc. What I mean by this is if we cut these two pieces, the highest point is actually right here in the middle. So if I cut these two and bring them together, technically it should be the same level, which will make it a lot easier for me to make these two surfaces up. And worst case scenario, I have 2 to 3 degrees of rake from my windshield that I can adjust for it, because the windshield actually ends right here, and this is all the center part of glass. So we're actually gonna be building a Tesla Roadster, because this will be a detachable top that we could take off, whether we're drifting or if we're just going out for a nice sunny day. So the reason why I'm cutting this 13 inches is because I want the wheelbase to be exactly 100 inches. This will give us enough distance where this will make it a fun drift car, but also make it balanced enough where if we decide to take it on a time attack or a track car, it'll handle still relatively well. Now, we're gonna be adding some wider suspension, doing some other stuff. I'm not sure if we're actually gonna keep the Tesla suspension or if we're gonna convert it over to maybe Nissan 350, the 240SX, or maybe even BMW. There's a bunch of ones, but I know with these control arms, I can't cut them, weld them, and extend them. So we're gonna do some stuff on there. Now, if you are a company that sells drifting equipment or drifting materials, please hit me up, because I need a lot of drift parts for this car, because we need an e-brake, We're gonna need a steering rack, some other stuff, knuckles, suspension, coilovers, pretty much everything else that I'm not physically building by hand, because I know for a fact that nobody makes any Tesla drift parts, because hopefully this will be the world's first Tesla drift car. So anytime you're getting ready to cut, always make sure you have your safety glasses, because remember, safety is sexy. Also, you always want to use a new blade, especially when it's made in America. So when you're getting ready to cut a Tesla, there's a few tricks you should do. First, make sure your shoulders are loose. Also have a little bit of bend in your knees. And more importantly, squeeze your cheeks really, really hard, because if you screw this up, there's no going back. So I don't know what this thing is made out of, but it took all the teeth off of this Sawzall blade. I just did, remember the G-Wagon, we cut this thing in half? I used only 2 of these blades to cut the whole G-Wagon up. I'm still on one pillar, only an inch through, and it actually cut the whole way, which is absolutely insane. So let's go ahead and get another blade and see if we can fix this. This has got to be some sort of different steel. I don't understand it. So I've literally gone through 3 blades just for this little tiny piece right here. And these are all, you know, very expensive, like Miller blades. I've even tried one of our Harbor Freight blades. That one didn't last too long. I don't know what kind of steel they used for this Tesla, but it is pretty good. So now what we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some cutting wheels and start cutting this down, because I already cut through a few sections with the cutting wheels, but it looks like we're gonna have to do cutting wheels on all of these parts right here to take them apart. So like I said, there's not really a guide on how to make a 4-door Tesla a 2-door. So we're just gonna have to figure it out as we go. So the good news is the cutting wheel actually works. The bad news is this is a 4-inch wheel, and this whole member is probably about 6 inches wide. So either I'm gonna have to get a bigger wheel, or I'm gonna have to cut it basically half on both sides to get the whole way through it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna kind of go around the whole outside section just to kind of test out the theory. And then I may go out and get maybe a 5-inch wheel just to make my life a little bit easier. All right, guys, so I went to Home Depot and I bought some 7-inch cutting wheels, which are pretty gnarly, and I was able to actually cut the top. Now, I don't know what kind of steel Tesla is using. If you can see that gauge of thickness right there, it is extremely hard to cut through. So it took me about 2 hours to cut the top half of the rack. Now, everything went through, which is great. We have a little bit of overhanging here, so once we put these together, we're gonna weld this to the top, and this is actually where the rear glass connects to, so that's why we left that there. But after looking at everything is lining up really well. So next, I wanna show you exactly what I'm cutting now. So if you ever wondered what the inside of a Tesla looks like, this is it. You basically can cut off the sheet metal, peel it like an onion, and this is the actual center steel. This stuff is really hard to cut and very strong. It's taken me probably about 40 minutes to cut this piece alone. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and peel the outside on both ends, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut the center section out. Now, once I do, and we start putting it together, since we are building a roll cage and the whole exterior, what we're thinking about doing is running the piping in the inside, connecting it here, welding it on both insides, and then framing it back out with the same steel, welding it, and then going ahead and putting the skin all the way across to make sure that, 1, you can't tell it was actually welded, and 2, to make sure we retain a lot of that rigidity, which doesn't really matter because, like I said, we're actually gonna get stronger once we put the roll cage in there. But I wanna make sure that if I get hit or I'm on the racetrack, I'm not gonna basically explode into 2 pieces. All right, we sliced this open, and this is why I believe all Teslas get totaled out as soon as you smack them from the side. You have a 2x6-inch steel beam going the whole way through the frame. So whether you hit it in the back or the front, this is one solid piece. So I'm not sure how you're supposed to replace this. You're probably just gonna have to cut the whole car open and wind up basically cost too much. You have to total out the car. So now I know why every single Tesla gets totaled, no matter how small the fender bender is. If you look at the before and after pictures, which I'll play B-roll now, this car was barely hit in the front, not even that bad. And I can actually show you the front here. we had a little bit of damage right here. Actually, this is from the tow truck, not really from the accident, but it was barely hitting the front, and they wound up totaling it out because I believe they were worried about doing any type of frame and structural damage, because like I said, once this gets hit, you have to peel this whole thing open like a can opener and replace it. So I guess what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and open up, expose the other side, and figure out the right way to cut this thing down. Well, here is something interesting. So once I actually cut the beam on this side, I was getting ready to cut it here, and as soon as the Sawzall started, it just fell down. This thing was only being held in place, if you can see by some of this like double-sided like sticky foam. That was it. This beam is literally just kind of floating inside the chassis, which is crazy. I thought a lot more would be holding it in place, but this is it. It's all aluminum. So I guess what I'll have to do now is we're probably gonna leave this here, and once we cut this in, we're gonna go ahead and probably put some piping inside here, put it across with some bracing, and then also put some additional gussets on the back end to make sure that it's strong. It's official, guys. The Tesla Roadster is now 2 parts. So we got it completely cut in half. What we're gonna do now is go ahead and finish cutting all this stuff, because this is multiple layers that we have to peel back. So it's gonna take a little bit of time, but we're gonna get that off, and then we're gonna start getting stuff lined up so we can put the frame together. And I'm gonna go pick up the steel for the roll cage. All right, guys, I'm exhausted, so it's time to wrap up the video. I'm very surprised at how far I got in the last few days. Without having all my shop and all the fancy tools, it does make it a little bit harder to do certain things, especially crawling underneath this thing, trying to cut with an actual cutting wheel. It's been a big pain in the butt, but that was the whole point of this build, is to do something fun and extraordinary in a regular garage with a regular car and with my regular tools from Harbor Freight. I think that anybody can achieve something like this. So I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised when the end product is shown. But I want to give a huge shout out to Copart. Like I said, this is their very first SEMA, and this is their very first SEMA build. So once again, out of the thousands of YouTubers that have bought cars off of Copart and fixed them up, I am the first one that's actually building one for Copart for SEMA. So I'm super excited. I want to thank you guys again so much for supporting the channel and doing everything. If you're giving me a huge favor, if you're thinking about getting in the automotive industry and you want to buy and sell some cars, please send it for Copart Select. And there's much more than just regular wreck cars. There are all kinds of good cars there. If you're looking for clean title cars, bank repos, Copart has it. Copart is adding a lot of programs to help regular people find the cars that they want, whether it's a crazy project like this or something you can literally just turn the key and drive off the lot. Copart has a little bit of something there for everybody. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Please follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez. I'm doing daily logs of this actual build just to show you how far it's going. I'm going to be doing a lot more things when it comes to actually setting this up when it comes to drifting. So next video is going to be pretty cool because we're going to put these two things together. Also, I'm going to be meeting up with a few people that do drifting for fun and professionally and go out and have some fun, because I haven't drifted in I don't know how long. So I think it'll be kind of important for us to at least get our feet wet, get back into the actual drifting before I finish this thing out and take it onto a track and probably wreck it into a wall after I've done all this crazy stuff. But once again, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez. Make sure you use the link down below to sign up for Copart Select, and we'll see you next video.